How to configure multi-WAN settings on gateway devices on Ruijie Reyee app. When multiple WAN links are consolidated into a single gateway device, to ensure the availability and utilization of these WAN links, it is necessary to configure multi-WAN settings on the gateway device. Please note that the multi-WAN feature is supported on Ruijie EG series and NBR series. With the multi-WAN feature, you can configure multi-WAN settings on the gateway device to meet different service requirements. The multi-WAN feature is applicable in the following three scenarios. 1. Bandwidth aggregation through load balancing. In this scenario, the gateway device automatically distributes outgoing traffic across multiple WAN links to aggregate the bandwidth of these links. 2. Different egresses for different users. This means that the traffic from a certain IP address range on the internet is routed to a fixed egress. 3. Private network for private line servers. Devices on the private network can only access resources on the private network. An example of the private network is the financial private network of a company. Devices on the private network cannot access resources on the internet. A device on the internet must use the egress for private line to access resources on the private network, and use other egresses to access resources on the internet. Login to the Ruijie Reyee app. Note, the login credentials for Ruijie Reyee app are the same as those for Ruijie Cloud. Choose your project from the project list, swipe up to access the workspace. Select Advanced WAN Config. To configure multi-WAN settings, first select the WAN port. You can select a WAN port or a LAN/WAN port. Next, select the connection type. Then, tap Save. Please note that for the private network for private line server scenario, the connection type must be static IP, and the WAN link must be set to a private line. You can configure related parameters based on the specific application scenario of the multi-WAN feature. For bandwidth aggregation scenario, you are advised to enable load balancing, and configure a wait for each WAN link. For the different egresses for different user scenario, you need to configure policy-based routing settings. If you need to add a created service network to a fixed line, for example, configure all users in VLAN 60 to access the internet through the egress of WAN 2. Then you should select the corresponding port and edit IP range, add VLAN 60 to this port and click Convert. For the private network for private line server scenario, you are advised to configure private line setup. Click Edit to add IP/IP ranges. Once your configuration is successful, the WAN port will be labeled with private line. Please note that the multi-WAN feature is enabled by default on Ruijie EG series gateways, and need to be manually enabled on Ruijie NBR gateways. To follow this issue, comment on our video or send an email to us. See you in the next video.